There we go. We're in.
Yes, you beautiful people and ugly people. We don't discriminate. You can do either. That's absolutely fine. Jack thinks it's episode 56. He is wrong because the recording software
Oh
broke
yeah.
last week. So we had half a podcast and probably not a very good one because Jack did most of the talking. So
Oh yeah.
we're back. We're going to hit the same topics again next week. Honestly, mate, if we were this inconsistent in the gym as we are with podcasting, we would make no progress.
In our
Yeah,
defense, it's in our defense, right? The reason that it's so hard for us to get a podcast going is because our coaching businesses are doing too well. That's not even a flex, it is genuinely true.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Too busy, bro.
yeah, mate, just
We
too
need someone
busy.
that helps busy people to
It is a prioritization issue, mate. But yeah, we need to. I'm literally in the middle of
wait, so
crafting.
you saying we don't want it bad enough?
Yeah, I'm in the middle of crafting a post about prioritization issues.
Oh shit, I need to
Basically,
post it.
it's that we spend about a third of our lives like working. If you do a 9 to 5, obviously spend another
Yeah, yeah.
third of our lives sleeping. Right, that leaves you with 1/3 of your life where you can actually do something with it. And I was looking at like what's the average screen time for most people in their 20s and 30s, and it's 5 hours a day. And I'm like, well, the point I'm trying to make is we're already limited on time. So if anyone dares to tell me that they're low on time, I'll be like, look at your fucking screen time, mate. And even then, you haven't got all the time in the world, and it's not going away. Like that's gonna stick with you, mate. So deal with it.
Just do cardio while you watch Netflix, mate. Problem solved.
To be fair,
Good fun.
that's a pet peeve of mine though. Is when people are like, "Oh, you know, just got this new job. Things are a bit busy." I'll be like, "What's your job?" And they'll be like 9 to 5, like some kind of office 9 to 5. And I'll be like, "Okay, realistically, when's the next time you're not going to have a 9 to 5? When you're unemployed because you've been let go of something and you're really really stressed, or when you're retired? Like you just need to adapt to this new time frame that you have." Anyway, enough of my rant. It's on my mind. You can tell. Jeez.
So we got a question last week, which was
Mm.
what body parts did we think we had bad genetics for until
Yeah.
we learned how to train them?
Yeah.
And what common body parts do we see lagging on clients like when they first come to us? So do you want to give us a quick summary of what we spoke about and the key takeaways from that?
I think we should go bar for bar, verse for verse, mate. We should go like tit for tat. I'll start off with a body
Show me
part,
your tits.
and then yeah, if you show me your tats, mate. Jeez.
Yeah, yeah. Tic Tac. Do you remember that? Who was Tic Tac better get back in your box? Do you remember
Oh,
that?
mate, yeah, yeah. That was a diss on Callum's corner, but who said it?
Oh,
Mate, BG Media. Oof. Back in the old days.
it was so good back
What a
in the
time to
day,
be
mate.
alive. Yeah,
Little T would get fucking cancelled now.
yeah, mate. I used
No
to.
way.
My mates in school used to call me Little T because my hair was blonder and it's a little bit curlier. I also used to get called Milky Bar Kid because of how pale I am. So there you go. Let's drag
I
that
rate it.
nickname back up. Body part that I know what yours is going to be, and I have the same answer, but so I'm going to give a different one. I'd say my back. My back just like did not respond. It just doesn't respond to throwing stuff around, and my lats don't respond unless they're like being biased heavily. Like just general. I'll do a pull down, do a row isn't specific enough. I need to do something that's actually lat biased to get them to grow, and then they do. Yeah,
And how do you go about doing that?
well, anything where your arm's going to be tucked by your side, your wrist position doesn't really matter, but basically you're driving your elbow to your hip is the cue that everyone loves to talk about. And it's nothing to do with your shoulder blades or anything like that, okay? Just elbow to hip, biggest stretch that you can. Make sure that you're
Yeah, I
controlling
heard
your
you actually have
elbow.
to keep the shoulder blades locked down all the time. If they move at all, the tension goes off your lat completely, mate. All
Exactly.
tension lost.
Yeah, have you ever noticed that, as soon as you move your shoulder blades, your lats just like disintegrate? They just stop working, they just cease to activate. The thing about the shoulder blades is, so for those of you that don't know, quickly, if you keep your shoulder blades held down, it's easier to bias your lats or feel like you're biasing your lats more because you're just keeping them shorter the entire time. It's a great way of developing mind muscle connection, but long term, it's not what we want to be doing because we can get more growth out of letting that shoulder blade move around, and it's just unnecessary.
Taking
It's just
steroids.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Alex,
Keep it locked down and double the dose, mate. Easy peasy. Yeah. But yeah, it's just unnecessary. But it is, if you are struggling to feel if you're struggling to feel your lats, lock your shoulder blade down for a few weeks, and slowly over time let that move a little bit more freely, and you'll build great lats. Basically, what's your answer, mate? Body part that
For
responded.
me, it was definitely legs, and that was a common one
Yeah,
with clients. That was just because I was trying to barbell squat when I didn't really suit it that well, and also because of that, I then couldn't get that deep, which is no bueno when it comes to quads.
yeah. I've got I actually had a consult with, because my knee flared up a little bit recently, which is a story I'll get into because there's a story behind that. But anyway,
The ego lifting again.
no, it was outside of the gym, unrelated. But anyway, my ankle mobility's always been awful, and I went to see my physio about it, and I was like, "Can you assess like my ankle mobility? Can you just tell me like how crap it is, and just give me an idea of like what I can do to improve it?" And he was like, "Mate, it's pretty crap, but it's a structural issue. My ankles hit bone pretty damn quickly. Like there's no more to give." He was like, "You can do all the stretching in the world, mate. That is your range of motion for life. Congratulations, you have poor ankle mobility. It's just the way it is." Which is superb. So yeah, I have to be very very careful with like the movements that I'm picking. But whenever I used to barbell squat, everyone's leg day was like leg extension, whatever ham curl you had at your gym, deadlift, squat, leg press, and no one took leg press seriously.
And another two squats as well.
Yeah. If you really wanted to grow, you do a Smith squat maybe, or like a lunge. But everyone just did the same stuff. And like I remember, like I literally only felt machine work. But hey, bro, you can't grow off machines, can't grow off leg press, can't grow off leg extension. So I just did
Yeah, because
squats.
machines don't use gravity, do they, Jack?
Yeah, exactly, mate. That's the thing. It still baffles me whenever I hear people talk about squats as if there's some unique movement specifically different to pressing. You know, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, you don't have to barbell squat, but I would squat," and you'll be like, "Is a leg press good enough? Is a lower body press good enough?" They'll be like, "No. It's got to be a squat. If it's got squat in the name, fantastic. Squat press, yeah. Leg press, sorry, buddy, not a squat. Not gonna grow you." I'm like, it's fundamentally the same thing. Like, look at the joint positions that you get yourself into. It's the same thing. A leg press is just as good as a squat, I would say.
So if I do this and call it a humorous squat, will it work my
Yeah,
quads?
exactly. Yeah, it's like yeah,
Just to clarify for the listeners, I did a bicep curl.
yeah, that's a good shot. It's just it's so weird. I think it's because that's the only body part where a squat is a press. A squat is just a press. Like it's very very similar to a press. You could use that interchangeably. But for some reason, because we differentiate between those, people tend to view squats as like, if it's got squat in the name, it's higher. Imagine if the hack squat was called the hack press. I think people would genuinely treat it like it was a lesser movement to like a pendulum squat or something. It's weird. It's so weird, isn't it? People, nah, can't be doing a press, mate. It's got to be a squat. Why? Why? It's the same thing.
So, Jack, how do you feel about people going, right, this IFBB Pro has got the biggest legs I've ever seen. I'm only going to listen to them when it comes to training legs. I'm not going to listen to the IFBB Pro that's got like decent legs.
I think the way that I approach listening to people is treat everyone the same. Like, think about what they're saying. Does it make sense to you? If you've got the time, go away and do a little bit of research. Um, but also maybe ask around a few people and kind of say, it's a difficult position. It's a difficult question to answer, because in my head, right, let me lay down my thought process. You can have IFBB pros who have great legs because of genetics, or they're not mean, they've got amazing ankle mobility, and they can just like barbell squat all day, every day, and slam that around, and that's fantastic, and that just grows their legs. So they're like, "Hey, barbell squat, bro." You don't know, looking at that as someone who's newer to the gym or just doesn't know that information, that that's why they've seen that success. So as much as success does leave clues, and we do want to listen to people who are doing pretty good at something, like you wouldn't listen to someone who has absolutely no muscle mass in their legs at all, right? But you at least should hear them out. We should hear out everyone and sort of like weight based on, I think, how much success they've seen. But maybe think about the underlying why. Like, why do you think that? Okay, you've said the barbell back squat's great for my legs, mate, but why? Like, why this guy?
Yeah, so we can run through this here, Jack. So
Yeah.
tell me something that you think is really important for leg training. And I'm going to run through the sort of questions that you should be asking either them or just the general principle to understand if this is someone that actually knows what they're talking about, or they're doing the thing because the thing, which isn't a reason.
Yeah.
Like if you have to define why you should do something using the same words, you're not actually adding anything to it. It's like me saying to you, Jack, what's a table? You go, oh, it's a table, mate.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
that doesn't tell
exactly.
me what a table is if I live in a world without tables.
Yeah, exactly.
So what something you think is really important for leg training?
For general leg training, I would say some kind of lower body press is going to be pretty damn beneficial for just general leg training
Why?
because it trains your quads, which are a large part of your leg. It also, at the same time, trains your adductors, which are a large part of your leg. Also trains the glutes, pretty decent large part of the leg. They tend to be loaded and then lengthened, which for most is going to be pretty damn good for making progress.
And why is the length and range good? Why does it
Because,
matter?
well, from what we've seen from recent studies, is it's just as good as, if not better, for growing muscle rep for rep compared to a full range of motion. And typically, according to those studies, training where it's picking movements where it's harder, where we're more lengthened, as in where a muscle is more stretched, tends to give more stimulus to build muscle per rep.
We're not talking like 150% here. It's like
No.
literally up to 10% more.
Yeah.
If you're doing everything else right, it fucking matters.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's not like, oh, okay, I need to worry about training stuff lengthened if I can't make it to the gym for a week consistently. Like,
Yeah,
just fucking.
it's more a case of like if you can do. I was literally talking to someone about this today, right? I said, and he was talking about like people making training not fun and overcomplicating it. And I said, like, figure out what your goals are. So, like, what are you trying to do in the gym? Figure out what it takes to get to those goals, and then rank those things that you need to be doing on a scale of how painful they are to you. Okay, how much misery do they cause you? So it might be, I want to look like a bodybuilder. Okay, that's
This
good.
podcast is a 10 out of 10 for sure.
Exactly, bro. Very painful. So it might be like I have to eat, you know, like on a meal plan, like clockwork, every single day, and for me that's really painful. So I'm not going to do that. So cool. Okay, now you know where you stand. It might be I need to go to the gym and train really, really hard. Well, for me that's really painful, so I'm not going to do that. So when it comes to deciding what you should do, write down based on your goals on paper what would being perfect at that look like, and just say whether it's worth it to you or not doing that thing. It might be that following the meal plan is worth it. For me and Luke, it is. Training hard is worth it. For me and Luke, it is. Training in the lengthened is worth it. For me and Luke, it is, except not for my knees because that causes me knee pain, so I don't really train the lengthened range that much at the
No, it has to be all or nothing. You can't have any nuance, Jack.
minute.
You can only use lengthened, or if you don't, then it sucks.
Exactly. So yeah, you just have to
So
be. Yeah, go on.
returning to what we were talking about before, then just to go over that, we've essentially gone. Jack said, okay, we should do a squat pattern. I've asked him why. He's given me multiple different reasons. We've then dived a little bit deeper into one of those things. We can do exactly the same thing for a leg extension, for a leg curl, for how you actually perform those things in terms of range of motion, which we kind of already covered, tempo, control, blah, blah, blah. That's the sort of thing you should look for. If I was to say to Jack, okay, Jack, why should we do a pec fly for our chest? And he goes, because you have to.
Because you have to, bro.
That's not a reason.
You have to do a
Yeah.
fly for your chest. What do you mean?
That's that's not a reason. That's just sort of restating your thing.
Yeah.
So that's maybe one of the things to look at. Like if someone who has got a really big whatever body part can give you loads of in-depth reasons for why you should do the things that they're doing, they're probably a pretty good person to look at. And a good way to see that as well is, okay, they used to have really shit legs
Yeah.
and now they're really, really good. Okay, that's interesting. Like people would point to guys like Tom Platz, for example, when it comes to quad Dorian, when it comes to back, and go, okay, right, what did they do? It's like, well, if that's their best body part, I'm going to take a wild guess and say it was going to be pretty fucking good no matter what they did.
Mm. That's a good point that you've raised there. Often it's not who's got the best X, it's who's improved X the most. So if you've got someone with awful delts, but they've grown them to a decent spot and they've done it pretty quickly. Okay, they don't have the best delts in the world, but hell, they've made some damn good improvements, so something's going on there. They might still be weak compared to the rest of their physique, but if they've been able to improve them pretty rapidly, there's something going on. That's cool. So yeah, and I think as well, if someone does give you reasons for something, ask questions because it's rare when you ask someone, hey bro, why should I do a pec fly for chest? They'll be like, oh, it's I don't know, maybe what would be a kind of broy reason. Um, you get really good mind muscle connection when you do a chest fly. And then you could expand that out. Okay, well, why do I care about mind muscle connection? Why am I not getting mind muscle connection on other exercises? Why is it best on a fly? And kind of poking a little bit deeper, like Luke did, where I said, hey, I'd do a pressing pattern because it loads the lengthened. And he's like, well, why do I care about that? He didn't just take it at face value and be like, oh, that sounds smart. Cool. Loads the lengthened. Good enough for me. No, he asked, like, what does that mean? Why do I care? And I justified as well. It was training the quads, adductors, glutes. Why do we care about those? Well, they're pretty damn big parts of the leg. So if we're ticking those off, it's pretty good for general leg progress.
Yeah, for sure, man. I was going to say something else now, and I can't remember what it was,
That's right. You got
which is
interrupted by
not.
me.
Oh, that's what it was. And if this person is a coach as well, their physique is important,
Yep.
but I would say it's more important that they've been where you want to be and have made some decent progress themselves than they look fucking amazing right now, sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Some of the best. It's often like there's a bit of an inverse relationship between like not completely, but like how good a coach looks and how knowledgeable they are. Like if we look at some of the best coaches in the industry, they're not the guys with the best physiques. Like Joe Jeffrey is the immediate guy that comes to
We
mind.
love you, Joe.
I'm sure he's heard this all the time, and Joe, it comes out of love because you've done something incredible, mate. But like Joe will be the first to say he does not have fantastic genetics. If he did, I don't think he'd know a tenth of what he knows now because he'd just be up there on the Olympia being like, yeah, I'm the biggest guy in the room. But because he's not the biggest guy in the room, because he's had to work for every single gram of muscle he's got, he's now like, okay, how does this process work? How can I help people with this process? He's put so much time into understanding it to optimize it that now he can do that for other people. Whereas if you look at like, there are Olympia caliber athletes who are coaches, a lot of their programming is quite basic. It's stuff a PT could give you, like a generic PT in a gym, like fucking Brad down the gym. He's taking Psalms in the summer to cut up a little bit for his Ibiza trip. That guy, fucking, that's not anyone in particular. That's me stereotyping
What
generic
did you
PT.
just say? Ibiza.
Yeah.
Get the fuck off this podcast.
All right, Ibiza,
Oh,
Ibiza, Ibiza. Sorry,
yeah,
bro.
that's
Sorry, bro.
better. Yeah, but you want to look at those coaches and say, like, right, any of their clients have a really weak body part.
Yeah.
And is that common across them? Like, if they all have shit legs, chances are there's something about their leg training which is a bit dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas if they're all fairly balanced or improving in different areas, then that's pretty good. I think one of the best tests for genetics as well is like, look at the people that started training around a similar time as you. Where are you in comparison to them? Because if there's quite a few of you, chances are they're going to be somewhere around an average pool of the population, obviously, depending on the bigger the group is. But you'll hear stories of guys that are like literally lifting the same weights as all their friends, but except the next week they can add 5 kilos and their friends struggle to match it.
Yeah.
Like those are the kind of guys that just end up freaky.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think talking about like a coach's results is a good point there, and I'd say touching on something similarly that we talked about before. Say if like you've got if say if you've got a coach who's dealing with a lot of people who aren't the genetic elite, but they're making really phenomenal progress across everywhere. That's fantastic. That's the mark of a better coach. Whereas if they get someone who already looks incredible and they make them ever so slightly more incredible, it's like, well, you haven't really shown me that you can really do that to a lot of people, to a variety of people, and also make large sweeping changes. It's not necessarily the end physique or the start physique, it's more the difference between them in that time frame. Like, I've got people who, since I've coached them, like they've joined up recently, so they haven't made a lot of changes, but they look phenomenal. But they came to me looking phenomenal. So me posting up their physique doesn't do shit for me because I haven't actually given them that. They've done that before they came to me. So it's all about the progress that they make rather than just how they look. It's the difference.
Yeah, for sure, man. You have to take a look at all of that. Like some coaches, you will see the same clients constantly littered
Yeah,
over their feed of like,
yeah,
this person lost 20 kilos, still eating 2,500 calories a day. They had to do no cardio, or they just keep transforming. And it's like, okay, if that's all you're showing, they're probably the outliers. How's the guy that's literally just been training in the gym for 3 months and is trying to figure out all this training stuff and just lose a bit of body fat doing? Can you get a good transformation with him?
yeah,
Or is it only the people that were already in pretty good shape?
yeah, yeah. Like as a good coach, and you'll see it across me and Luke's Instagram. I'm pretty comfortable calling us good coaches. You'll see the people who are more serious doing more extreme things. It's more in line with their goals. But even the people who are a bit more lifestyle and kind of skew more towards just enjoying things a little bit more, they're still making phenomenal progress. They're still very, very happy with what they're doing. So yeah, there's like a spectrum of results there, but you're still seeing everyone get results and in a pretty timely manner. And everyone's got a good word to say about us because again, we're not just taking people who are like genetic elite and like Luke right now could like take me on as a client, shed 30 pounds off me, and then be like, look at him, he looks incredible. But all he's done is just like
Only 30. Fucking hell, we need more than that.
piss off.
Only 30.
But just take like take credit for like the work that I've done that was technically with someone else. So yeah, you got to be careful.
Yeah, that's very true, man. That's very true. Like, there's only one thing cooler than taking someone with good genetics and just seeing what freaky shit you can do with them, and that's taking someone that's like very average, so to speak, and
Yeah.
turning them into a badass.
I like the messages where they're like they have like a group of mates or mates that go to the gym. They start overtaking people. That's quite cool because you can see in real time their progress accelerate. Like it's there, but when you've got a bit of a marker of like someone who's uncoached and you got your coached client, just it's very cool to see.
Is that just because you put them on training though?
Yeah, but come on, it's a protocol, mate.
We can't tell them about that.
Yeah, that's the secret. It's literally just like bucket loads of Tren. It's all Tren and Ket. It's all just horse related things, really. We're kind of like equestrian. We're actually horse coaches. We just kind of work with
What
people.
trend was for cows?
It might be.
We're not vets.
Thought it was
This isn't
horses.
medical advice.
No. Well,
Would not replace the
this isn't
advice of
medical
yours.
advice for animals or for humans.
Yeah,
I'm gonna Google it.
bro. I think we got that topic. To be
Oh,
fair.
okay. The one other thing you wanted to. It is made for beef cattle. Sorry, you were right, mate. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I thought it was horses. There you go. Never mind.
Call me doctor.
That's kept one
Jeez.
thing of. No, you touched on another one that I'm going to ask back to you now. Was like common body parts that you see people lacking, and maybe why as well. Try and pick one. We could go back and forth.
In general, definitely delts. Most people have no delts, bro.
Yeah, it's true. I'm one of them.
Because I really, really like a dumbbell lateral raise.
Yeah.
Like, when you do it well, it's a fucking exercise.
Oh,
Yes, it's short and focused, but nothing fucks my delts up like a dumbbell lateral raise.
but it's short focused, Luke. No.
Because we're going to get into the weeds a little bit here, but I actually accelerate as I get closer up to the top to make it a little bit easier
Yeah.
because it's really, really hard there, which is a useful thing you could do. But also because I know how to program a fucking session, I then have something which is very lengthened bias to sort of milk those two parts of the range. And when I'm week 5 volume, 4 sets on both of those, I'm literally disabled after that, which is really, really nice. But most people's side delt training is ego shrugs, ego laterals, cable right at the bottom of the stack. So it's basically doing the same thing as a dumbbell anyway. Maybe if they're feeling a bit fancy, they might do an Egyptian lateral raise and hang off the stack and make it a really unstable exercise because you couldn't accomplish the same thing by just raising the cable height upwards.
Literally. Or a machine lateral, again, loaded in the short, just swinging it around, banging it around. I think you've raised a good point there where Luke's taken an exercise that he knows he likes. He's performing it in a way that's going to make him get faster progress than anyone else. So a lot of people will be like, oh, the secret to Luke's delts is dumbbell lateral raises. I do dumbbell. I spam laterals, bro. What's wrong with me? It's not that Luke isn't spamming them, although he's doing a high amount of them. He's being specific, even with his tempo. He's lifting slow and controlled, but he's deliberately speeding up to make it a bit less hard at the top because they're brutal at the top. He's trying to even out where it's hardest and where it's easiest. And then he's deliberately gone in and programmed something differently. Probably his lengthened range exercise isn't another lateral. It's probably a play on the lateral, something that's going to train his side delt, but from a different shoulder position. Because guess what?
Oh, mate, that's another one. That's another one.
Everyone
Yeah, I'm
needs
going to
to
do
do that.
dumbbell lateral raises. Then I'm going to do machine lateral raises. Then I'm going to do cable lateral raises.
Yeah.
And it's all just like moving your arm out to the side. You do know you can do fucking this shit, swinging your arm
Yeah,
wherever
yeah.
you want, man.
And then they'll be
Like your shoulder can do a lot.
yeah. By the end, they're like lifting
Why my
hardly any weight.
delts not growing? So much.
Exactly. That by the end, it's like a set of 3. They've got no sensation. They've got no pump. The whole thing has been like just swinging around. Their shoulder starts to pinch, They get pain when they press. They got like all this kind of stuff, and then side delt won't grow as well. Yeah, man, see it all the time. Just everyone is, oh, it's a different. What do you mean? It's a different lateral because it's a cable versus a machine versus a dumbbell. What do you mean? And it's like you do know that the selector on the cable can go all the way up, all the way down. You can have a play around with your arm. Doesn't need to just do this. Doesn't just need to do a lateral. You can have a play around with that. I think kind of touching on that a little bit. Often I see as an undeveloped body part, I would say arms and delts, if I'm going to group them together. And I think a lot of the reason for that, similarly to like people just picking the classic exercises, is all stuff that people train at the end of sessions, so they tend to lose focus and not train it that seriously. Everyone seems to use dumbbells or very basic cable exercises. No one lifts slowly at all. There's no idea of pausing. And I think as well, people just run the volume so low. Or they'll do 5 sets. They'll be like, I'm trying to get it to grow. I'm going to do 5 sets. But they're not a real 5 sets. Like, none of them are anywhere near failure. There's no quality. There's no rep slow down. There's no pausing. There's no control. There's no nothing. There's just zero stimulus. They're just doing 5 sets of using something rather than stimulating it. I think that's a big...
Yeah, and you could equate that to 3 actual sets in terms of volume. If you just mess around across those 5 sets, you're getting way less out of them than you could have, which is why we're fans of increasing volume, but not before you actually know how to train.
Yeah, absolutely. More is only more if you're able to like use it more. The analogy that I use, right, is if you work a job, you've got the amount you get paid and the amount of hours you work. Ideally, we want maximum pay for minimal work, right? Going to the office more and working overtime doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get paid more, right? Going to the gym and doing 5 sets, putting in that overtime, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get more muscle mass. You have to earn it. You have to do something valuable with that time. If you went to your office an hour early every single day and sat there and did nothing, that's not overtime. You're not getting overtime pay for that. You're just wasting your time. And it's the exact same thing in the gym. If you just start doing some shitty laterals at the start and end of every single session, oh, I'll put them on leg day, do a couple sets. Yeah, that's fine, bro. Like, it's not going to get you anywhere. So you need to make sure that you're actually getting quality out of it. I think the other side of the spectrum that I see is people who are really into intensity, maybe not so quality, kind of classic top set back off. And then they're like, oh, I do 2 sets for most things, so I do 3. So 3 for bicep, 3 for tricep, 3 for side delt. That should be enough. It's like you're training really hard. Again, there's not much tempo and control, but you're also not doing anywhere near enough volume. Like, you need to make sure that the quality is there, and then you're going to have to do quite a lot of sets, even when the quality is there. Like, particularly for me, my side delts can just go all damn year. It's really annoying. So it's not like abnormal for me to work those up to like 18, 20 sets of like just failure, pause at the top, pause at the bottom, slow negative, ridiculous stuff to try and get them to overreach.
Training volume is another one of those things we can go like ask those sort of questions about, like why does it need to be that sort of way? Like, people will say, "I'll just train hard." How hard?
Yep.
How often should you train hard?
Yep.
How much is hard?
Mm-hmm. I put out
you can go down a bit of a rabbit hole with that. Hard is a very generic term.
Mate, I put out a post that was like, the people who were like, intensity is key, right? You don't need volume. You don't need to train that frequently. It's all about intensity, okay? So should I do 1 set per week for biceps? That's a bit much. I could do a set every 2 weeks. What if I did a set a month? What if I did a set a year? I trained biceps 3 years ago. That was pretty hard. Do you think that's enough for the next few years? That was really intense. Do I need to up the frequency? Same thing for when you find people that are like, I've encountered a few people recently that are like, it's all about volume. You don't need to train hard at all. Like, literally just do volume. And I'm like, well, if I just...
How small are they?
Very. I'm like, if I just do body, like air bicep curls, right, and I do this all day and I never enter the gym, how big can I get my biceps? So I'll be like, oh, you need more load than that. And I'll be like, okay, so you're accepting that there's a certain level of difficulty that needs to be there. So where's the cutoff? If you're saying that intensity is key and frequency doesn't matter at all, where's the cutoff? Everyone loves to focus on one thing, but they still have a cutoff in their head. Of like, when they mean low volume, they mean, oh, no less than 4 sets per week. Why is that your magic number? When they say like difficulty or high volume training, they mean no less than like a 5 out of 10 difficulty. And it's like, why? How have you picked these numbers? If you're trying to equate it to money, again, because apparently that's where my head is today, volume is how frequently you get paid and intensity is how much you get paid. If you're trying to save up maximum money, You'd want them both, right? I wouldn't want to make like a grand every decade. That's pretty shit. But I also wouldn't want to make 10p every day. I'd want to make a grand every day. That would be pretty decent.
Yeah, raking in that cash.
Yeah, bro, 365k. Yeah, yeah. Extra grand on leap years, mate. Come on.
Oh yeah. So thank you very much, everyone, for listening. Hope you found that bad boy useful. Bit of a repeat of last week. So
Not
get
to
your
them,
questions in.
but
Yeah, like not to them. That's true. They're like, "Where's the podcast?" Yeah, so get your questions in. Share it on your story. Let us know what's happening. Sick.
cheers, everyone. Goodbye.